The Zephyrus G16 is arguably the best 16-inch laptop of 2025. But so far, I've only reviewed the mid-range model with an RTX 5070 Ti, which is quite expensive. And the 5070 non-Ti is almost identical, but a whole lot cheaper. So let's compare them. Which one has the better value? Let's find out. And please like and subscribe if you like these type of videos. From the outside, there aren't many differences. I mean, they are the same laptops. But just like on the G14, all the RTX 5070 and below models get a thinner, slightly weaker cooling system with 3 internal fans, while all 5070 Ti and above models get a better, a little bit thicker cooling system with 2 fans. And this means those higher GPU models are a little bit thicker and have this bigger bump on the bottom. The lower tier models have a thinner bump, but we're talking about a fraction of a millimeter here. I barely even noticed the difference. This beefier cooling system also makes the higher tier models a little heavier, but again, they're pretty much the exact same in actual use. Now, minus the obvious higher tier GPU, these two are almost identical in terms of specs. They have the same RAM, storage, and CPUs, but there are AMD options available for the 5070 and below models. These are a little slower though. The biggest difference you'll find here is their VRAM amount. The 5070 has 8 GB, while the 5070 Ti has 12. And this might not seem like a huge difference, but with modern games getting more and more VRAM intensive, this will be a big deal pretty soon. And for the higher tier GPU options, they also get a little more power. And because of this, they also need a higher wattage power brick. 40 watts more power is quite significant for a laptop. Other than the things I just mentioned, these two are pretty much identical. So performance is going to be the biggest difference here. Now, if you have G-Helper installed, these Zephyrus models can use most features. You can set custom power limits for its CPU, power limits and overclocking for its GPU, and of course custom fan curves for all fans. But unfortunately, you cannot undervolt their CPUs, since Intel doesn't allow that on their laptop chips. And like I said, the lower tier Zephyrus models have 3 fans instead of 2, so you've got an extra fan curve to customize if you want. Alright, enough yapping. We all know what we're here for: performance. These two have identical CPUs, but one of them has a weaker GPU with less VRAM. And that weaker GPU also has lower power limits. So how do these two compare? Well, in Cinebench R23, their CPUs obviously perform almost exactly the same. I mean, they are the same chips. But you might see a difference in their temperatures later on. But in 3D Mark TimeSpy, these two are actually surprisingly close. The 5070 might be slower, but really not by a whole lot. But benchmarks do not show real-world performance, so let's see how they compare in some actual games.
You'll never take me down.
What did you do, man? No!
Okay, these results were very interesting. I thought the difference between a laptop 5070 and a 5070 Ti would be huge, just like on desktops, but they performed so close. Hell, in some games they performed the damn same. So you might think, just get the 5070 then, right? But Nvidia is very good at making money, so they did some very sneaky stuff here. Sure, they do perform pretty closely, but once you reach that 8GB of VRAM in games, the 5070 starts to stutter. For example, in Battlefield 6, which is a very new game, you can see performance drop pretty hard at higher settings once stuff gets busy. And this is simply because the 5070 doesn't have enough VRAM for the highest settings. The 5070 Ti does not have these issues, since it has a little extra VRAM. So if you want to be more future-proof, the 5070 Ti is looking like a better option. But what about their thermals? The 5070 has a thinner body with slightly less powerful cooling. So how do these two compare? Well, that thinner body is noticeable in their temperatures. The 5070 G16 runs quite a bit hotter in heavy games. That Intel chip simply needs a lot of power and cooling. Their GPUs stayed around the same temperatures though. Laptops share cooling between their CPU and GPU, so it looks like this isn't an issue here. But what about their fan noise? They were about the same, give or take. Of course, if you think this is too loud, you can always just set a custom fan curve in G-Helper to make it a little quieter. Okay, now for battery life. In my original review of the Zephyrus G16, this Intel chip did pretty meh compared to its smaller brother, the G14. And since these two have identical CPUs, they should have the same amount of battery life, right? Well, I compare them in two different scenarios, under light use and during gaming. In the light use test, I played a YouTube video until their batteries died, with their displays at 80% brightness, at 60 Hz, and with their dedicated GPUs turned off. And these are very different numbers. Yeah, this is kind of my fault. This 5070 Ti G16 that I've been using actually has some power draw issues that makes it use a lot more power than it's supposed to in idle. After trying a bunch of stuff and just resetting Windows, I did manage to fix this. And after another run, they performed the exact same. This does however mean that the numbers in that original G16 review are inaccurate, so I'll post a pinned comment on those videos to correct them. Sorry about that. But back to the video, 10 hours of YouTube playback is actually really good. And it's a lot more in line with its little brother, the Zephyrus G14, with that AMD chip. Now in the gaming test, I played Battlefield 1 until their batteries died with the same settings as before. And here there are no surprises. Gaming laptops are just not made to play games on battery, so both of them did not last very long. If you want to play games on battery, get a gaming handheld PC, because those things are actually made for that. And now the most important difference between these two, their pricing. The RTX 5070 Zephyrus G14 can be found for around $2,300, which is on the high side for a gaming laptop, but you're definitely paying a premium for its thinness and the fact that it does everything else really well. While the 5070 Ti G16 is $500 to $600 more, which is a considerable amount of money. But this isn't the case in every country. For example, they're a lot cheaper in the USA. And in some countries, you're paying the price of a small car for the Zephyrus lineup. So it really depends on where you live. I'll put an international Amazon link for both of these in the description. Which brings us to our much needed conclusion. Which one of these is more worth it? The RTX 5070 Ti Zephyrus G16 or the 5070 G16? Well, I would actually say the 5070 Ti model. Yes, it is pretty damn expensive. I mean, you can get a thicker gaming laptop with a way faster RTX 5080 for this price. But with the Zephyrus, you're putting thinness, display quality, speaker quality, and overall build quality above performance, so that's not a surprise. Remember, shoving big things into small spaces is very expensive. But is $500 more for a little more VRAM worth it? I would say yes. Nvidia has played it very smart this generation. These two chips perform pretty closely in games, like really closely. But as soon as you play a VRAM intensive game, the 5070 starts to suffer a bit. And Nvidia knows damn well you need that VRAM, so they only put more on this similarly performing but way more expensive GPU. So every laptop GPU up to a 5070 Ti is limited to 8 GB, which is just starting to become too little. And their strategy is working. I mean, the 5070 Ti is more worth it. But in terms of best value, I would actually go with the RTX 5060 Zephyrus. Last video showed that it still performs very well, and it has just as much VRAM as the 5070, but is just a lot cheaper. So if you want to save some money, get that 5060 model. But if you want more performance, I would just save up a little to get that 5070 Ti or even a 5080 model, because that extra VRAM is worth it. And the laptop part of these devices stay the same between all configurations. So even the cheapest Zephyrus will still be arguably the best 16-inch laptop you can buy. You just gotta spend a little money to get it. Now let me give a huge shout out to my YouTube members. Soundwife, Thomas, Inky, Mr. Frosty Dude, Dropzone1, Martijn Snijkers, Flimsy, Aki, Disco Volante, Daniel, Mr. Nuke, Sebastian, Christian Sands, Real Elf, Toasted, Eric the Red, Wesley Rhodes, Michael, Ghost Data, Anugadar, Abdullah and Ravi. If you become a YouTube member, you get early access to content of mine, a shout out at the end of every video, and you'll also be supporting me as a creator to make these videos. And of course, you'll also be part of the Cool Guys Club, so you can use cool emojis like these in the comment section. So join the club if you're interested. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye bye.